G'day, I gather you are here to find out what the drivers drove to the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Well, I've got good news for you because I have all the information you're seeking and I'll run through it in 8 seconds time. Let's get stuck into what the drivers drove to the track at the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And I should say that 12 months ago, that building, the paddock, never existed. They built the whole thing in 12 months. I was there for the launch in November. Phenomenal to see what's been done in such a short period of time. The driver's car park was a short walk from the swipe gates, but most of the drivers actually got dropped off from their cars at this point and then walked the 30 odd meters to the swipe gates. Shall we start with Red Bull? Yes, both of the drivers were in F-150 trucks. Now I love this car, I love the sign writing on it, and I can tell you that the cars that they rolled up in at Vegas were the exact same cars that the drivers drove in Austin. See the number plates, or the tags as they're called in the US. And if you missed my drivers drove video from Austin, these were the two things about that vehicle that I found most interesting.
The gear lever folds down and then this part folds over and it completely disappears. And the second thing I was amazed at was this. You use these measuring marks to measure your fish.
Red Bull team principal Christian Horner was also ferried in. And was this a lengthy drive to get to the track? No, short drives. In fact, I saw Sergio Perez was staying at the Wynn, so the drive from there to the track, no more than 2 kilometres. But with heavy traffic, and that was often the case around Las Vegas, that could have taken anywhere up to 30 minutes. So going back to the driver's car park, it's located here. I did an aerial tour with Maverick helicopters, which is an absolute must if you're ever in Las Vegas. And they took us over the track during daylight hours. And as you can see, it's not very far from the swipe gates. Now the Alpine drivers in Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon this year have driven the likes of Espasas, Toyota Crowns, Chevy Tahoes, Ford Exhibitions and other vehicles. But this race, they came on 2 wheels, both of them riding in on scooters. Now I can't remember the last time I saw those 2 drivers arrive on 2 wheels, and they weren't the only ones to arrive on 2 wheels. Others who were staying very close to the track also did the same thing. And I must apologise for this noise. I'm actually here in Abu Dhabi, staying at the Rotana right opposite the track, which is what you can see behind me. And there's a whopping great construction site next door. Did anyone come by limousine? No. Well, not drivers, we had a few celebrities, but even then, they mostly came in big black suburban Chevys. A number of them had security, the likes of Brad Pitt. Rihanna, I was told that she would not go on the grid because she wasn't granted grid passes for her security. I didn't even find out whether or not she ended up on the grid. I only saw her once, and just for a fleeting moment. Let's get back to what the drivers drove. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri arrived in Chevy Suburbans. You might have seen my video where I mentioned where I thought you could get a glimpse of the drivers, and that's coming over that bridge. Well, I happen to know that a number of the drivers made a point of getting in before the roads were closed so that they didn't have to come over that bridge at Top Golf. The main temporary bridge that F1 built over Koval Lane, that bridge was interesting because you would come along flat and then you get this big jut up to the first level of incline, then another one up like that. So as you were going uphill, if you were going fast enough, you'd almost get a bit of air. Valtteri Bottas was the other driver that came in on 2 wheels. He rode his Canyon bike along with his girlfriend Tiffany Cromwell, who rides for Canyon, a pro cycling team. Although Tiffany typically wouldn't wear this sort of caper out on a pro ride, but she was more than comfortable to ride with that on in Vegas. Zhou Guanyu, well, he's a bit like Fernando Alonso, always drives the same company car. In this case, it was a Stelvio. I'm going back to Valtteri. The reason he's walking the bikes is because he's in the paddock, and you can't ride, well, you shouldn't ride 2-wheelers in the paddock. Although I have seen Toto Wolff zoom through there, but it was late at night and not many people around. But that paddock was very busy, particularly on Saturday. It was the home Grand Prix for the Haas drivers, so Nico Hülkenberg, staying close by, decided he didn't need a car and just caught a lift in with the team. Kevin Magnussen, on the other hand, he came in a Ford Edge. I say with some sort of certainty that when the drivers got back to their hotels, they would have given their car to the concierge to valet. Now, valet parking in Las Vegas used to be free, but post-COVID, almost every resort charges, and it starts at $18 a night and then goes well north of that depending on where you're staying. Although if you wanted to park in the Fashion Show Mall on Saturday race day, you'd have to pay $100 to park there. Suffice it to say, that would have driven away a lot of customers wanting to just do their shopping on that particular Saturday. On the Ferrari front, we had Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz driving the exact same model car, these beautiful Ferrari 296 GTBs. Both of them brought their girlfriends along to at least one of the days at the track. Rebecca with Carlos and Alexandra with Charles. Oh, and both of those cars were registered in New Jersey, which is a very long drive from Las Vegas. Now, two of the drivers did something very unusual. They walked to the track. I'll go into that in a little bit. It wasn't George Russell and it wasn't Lewis Hamilton. Lewis came in this GLE 53 AMG, and George was dropped off with his girlfriend Carmen in this Mercedes. But on the, Tuesday night prior to the race weekend starting, I went out to Speed Vegas, where both George and Lewis drove something different. Behind me is one of my favourite music performers, will.i.am. He is an avid F1 fan. He's just doing some stuff now for AMG. Well, this has turned into quite a magnificent function out here. George and Lewis have just been doing probably half an hour of photography with some cars at night, and there's a big drone show just about to take off, I think. Well, that was most impressive. Still on the impressive sporty cars, delighted to say that both of the AlphaTauri drivers, in Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda, rolled up in Acura NSX Type S's. Daniel in the grey, Yuki next to him in the yellow. No girlfriends arrived with those two drivers. I love the Acura NSX Type S. I think it's a very sexy looking car. I gather these were 2022 models, which started around $170,000. But I don't know who owned these particular cars because there were only 300 sold into the US, only 350 made in total. The first one went for $1 million and all the others were sold on day one. Let me stop just for a second and give you a look out here. It's quite spectacular what's going on with this light show. Yes, I know this is Abu Dhabi and I'm talking about Las Vegas, but I've only just got a chance to record this video. Next up, the two drivers who chose to walk to the track were Logan Sargent and his trainer, and Alex Albon and his trainer, along with Lily He, his girlfriend. Now I say that's rare because these days, with the popularity of F1 drivers, it's a real risk. And it also takes forever because if it's a busy place and they're getting stopped every few meters for a selfie, it's going to take them quite some time to get into the track. And how busy was traffic around the GP? Well, for me, I was in quite early and left quite late. But even late, when I'd go back at, take Sunday night, it was horrendously busy. And that's what a lot of the Las Vegas locals hated about the whole event, was that their roads were chock-a-block and have been for so many months. Next year, maybe, it'll be a much easier situation to get around. And that leaves us with just two drivers for the Drivers' Drove. That's Lance Stroll. He was driving an Aston Martin DBX, as was his teammate Fernando. It never ceases to amaze me just how popular these Drivers' Drove videos are. And the reason I started this was because going back to the COVID year when we weren't allowed to go into the paddock, we spent all of our time in the driver's car park, and that's when I first started to highlight what each driver drove. I'm delighted you've stayed till the end, and I'll ask you now if you would please like the video. And for those who aren't subscribed, get on board, come on. It's a great ride. You'll find a whole lot of content and merchandise here, and for my best images live from the track and during the week, go to Instagram and search @Kim Illman. Thanks for watching and stay passionate. Speaking of, no. Oh, I can hear the F1 theme. Oh, look at that, that's pretty. Can you see that? Yeah, that looks great.